Shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the channel. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to you on a live stream about some events that were taking place in that political state of Israel, where I showed you on the restored Hebrew biblical calendar that we were on the day of Purim, which was on the 14th and 15th day of the 12th biblical month. And it happened to fall on a Shabbat. And on that Shabbat, during the live stream, I said to you that in the morning some news had broken out that those people in the political state and their leader started attacks on Iran. And during those attacks, it was commencing on the Sabbath day, the day that we know as the seventh day Sabbath, which those people in that political state also recognize, obviously started from sunset Friday to sunset Saturday. That is what they are equating to the 14th day of the month of Adar, or the 14th day and 15th day of the 12th month. Now, something I found very interesting when I looked at the calendar for us, I found that on the 14th day and the 15th day of the 12th month actually falls today, believe it or not. So the true date for Purim, according to Esther chapter 9, verse 21, 14th and 15th, is today and tomorrow. And I said immediately when I saw the news, the first thing that came to me was the scripture in Jubilees chapter 50 and verse 12, where it says that anybody who makes war on the Sabbath day will surely be put to death. If you read over Jubilees chapter 50 verses 12 and 13, it lists a load of things that are forbidden to do on the Shabbat, and one of those things is making war, and the punishment for that would be that they would be put to death. And I said that was the scripture that came to me immediately when I saw the breaking news on that Shabbat. And so as I looked at that and talked about it on the live stream, one of the things I said is, well, we know that Yah's word cannot be violated. It must come to pass. So let's see what happens. And so now, some 2 weeks later, it has been reported, of course, these are unofficial reports, that that leader of that political state has been unalived. And that's because of the retaliation of Iran sending their attacks to that political state of Israel. And so we wait to see if this ever becomes confirmed news through the mainstream media. At the moment, they're very tight-lipped about it. But there's lots of pieces of evidence coming out from different sources and news in other parts of the world that are saying that these reports are confirmed. And so we just wait and see. We just watch with our popcorn to see what will happen.
Right now, Benjamin Netanyahu has not been seen in public for days. His government has stopped posting video, no camera, no audio, just text statements. The last verified footage of the Israeli Prime Minister shows him visiting the site of an Iranian missile strike. According to the internet's self-appointed detectives, that was his final public sighting. And it gets worse. A clip from his first press conference since the war began appears to show him with 6 fingers on one hand. A screenshot from the official Israeli Prime Minister's account apparently confirmed his death before being deleted. And the United States Treasury Secretary was pulled out of a live television interview, rushed to the White House Situation Room, and returned nearly 2 hours later visibly shaken, stammering and making unprompted remarks. Now, between roughly March 7th and March 10th, Netanyahu dropped off camera. Before that window, he had been posting between 1 and 3 video addresses every single day on his personal channels. That is his wartime pattern. 1 day without video during an active missile war would be unusual. 2 days would be notable. He went dark for nearly 4. Just text statements attributed to his office. On March 10th, Iran's Tasnim news agency ran an article arguing that Netanyahu was either gravely wounded or dead. Tasnim is not a fringe blog. The United States Treasury has formally designated it as linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. When Tasnim publishes, it carries the weight of the Iranian military establishment. The article pointed to the video silence, but it did not stop there. Hebrew language media had reported on March 8th that the security perimeter around Netanyahu's residence had been significantly expanded, with counter-drone defenses deployed specifically against suicide UAVs. Israeli media reported that a planned visit by Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff was postponed or cancelled, but there was no solid immediate confirmation from both governments, and Witkoff later said a trip could still happen next week. There was public reporting that Macron spoke with Netanyahu, but there is not enough solid evidence to use that is proof of any cover-up or staged contact. Tasnim also cited former United States intelligence officer Scott Ritter, sourced through Russian state media, claiming Iran had struck Netanyahu's hideout and killed his brother Ido. No evidence was offered. Tasnim itself acknowledged the claims were unconfirmed. That disclaimer did not slow anything down. The article was shared hundreds of thousands of times within hours. Now here is what makes this more complicated. This was not the first time the IRGC had targeted Netanyahu directly in its public messaging. On March 2nd, the third day of the war, the IRGC released a statement through Iranian state television claiming that during the 10th wave of retaliatory strikes, Khaybar-Shaken ballistic missiles had hit Netanyahu's office in Tel Aviv and the headquarters of Israeli Air Force Commander Tomer Bar. The IRGC described Netanyahu's fate as being, and this is their exact phrase, in a cloud of uncertainty. That phrase is going to matter later. For context, this war began on February 28th when the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes on Iran, killing Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei on day one.
One thing we know for sure is that when the Most High puts something in his word, it must surely come to pass. And Jubilees, the book of Jubilees itself, although not part of canonized scripture, for those of us who have the Most High's Ruach leading us into all truths, we know that that book is authentic because of the information and because of the fact that it does not contradict what we also see in canonized scripture. So we know that that word and that command in Jubilees 50, 12 and 13 is by the Most High's word, and therefore it must come to pass. So it would not be a surprise to hear these confirmations. And as I said, that morning when the news broke, as I woke up and saw the notifications on my phone, the first thing that came to me was that scripture. And I said, okay, we will see how long left this man has for violating the word of Yah. The irony of it is, of course, we know he is not one of those who are the children of the Most High. According to Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9, we know he is an imposter. But nevertheless, he wants the world to believe that he is somebody who has been ordained by the Most High. And so they do the old thing of what the Pharisees used to do, where they, pretend to be holy, pretend to be righteous, pretend to be servants of the Most High, but yet are hypocrites, as Messiah would have called them. And we see the actions that he has and the things that he is doing always contradict the scripture, even though he may try to pretend that he is fulfilling the scripture. I talked about that a bit on that live stream. And so we wait to see whether these reports will ever become confirmed, that of course he is, or he has succumbed to these attacks that they're saying, which are unreported at the moment or unofficial. But like I say, I don't believe there's smoke without fire. And there are many different sources saying different things. When you add them all together, to me, the evidence points to the fact that they may be true. And if they're not confirmed to be true yet, it's only a matter of time. But it's just further evidence to me about the seriousness and the power of the Most High's word, that when he says something, it will happen. And as I always say, it may not happen in the way we think or at the time that we think, but it will come to pass. It's just a matter of time. And that is further evidence when or if it is confirmed to be true, that again, the Most High's word is righteous and his words will come to pass by his grace at their appointed and appropriate time. And so I'm just paying some close attention to all the things that are going on there. And I actually had wanted to spend a bit more time talking about that and looking at some connections with the book of Daniel chapter 5, where when I read Daniel chapter 5 and see those characters that are listed from past times, these are things that happened in historical context in Babylon with the Medes and the Persians, and the Babylonian king at the time, Nebuchadnezzar, and his son Belshazzar, and all the things that happened there. When I look at those characters, I'm almost seeing a repetition of that taking place in this modern day. And we know that it was the Medes and the Persians that overthrew the ruling of Babylon and King Belshazzar, the son of Nebuchadnezzar, who had died previously. And so I won't go into the chapter now. You can read it for yourself. I did plan to actually break it down in a bit more detail. But as you can probably hear, I've been struggling recently with a cold, bit of a chesty cough, and also asthma is playing up, which happens sometimes when I get these ailments. And so I don't want to spend too long talking about it. But just have a read through Daniel chapter 5 and bear in mind, in that historical context, when you talk of the Medes and the Persians is what we would know today in these biblical times as Iran. Iran are the original Persians, and the Medes from various places, all amounting to the same area. So we're talking about the repetition of events that happened historically, but now with different players in the vicinity who are now playing the same roles as their predecessors. Very interesting if you connect the dots. But read Daniel chapter 5, and where you see the Medes and the Persians, replace that with Iran. And if you see who Iran is going against today, and you see those that fall to the power of the Medes and the Persians, you can connect the dots and see that there is elements of prophecy coming to pass. And some of these things, as I said before during that live stream, may be that those people in the political state are trying to show that they're fulfilling prophecy in a counterfeit way. But the Most High surely knows how to use irony and make things come to pass in his way. And that's some of the things that I'm seeing when I read through that chapter and look at the various characters that are listed, talking about the writing on the wall and what the writing on the wall means, and the breakdown by Daniel the prophet, who told you what the writing on the wall meant, that they are found in the balance and they are wanted and they will come to their demise, and that the Most High has finished what he has prophesied. All these things that happened in a historical context and have been fulfilled seem, when you look at the current day events and the things taking place, it looks like this is where we are today. And I know many people don't pay attention to things that happen in that political state, because we all know that they are imposters according to the book of Revelation chapter 2 and chapter 3. But as I always say, that the word of the Most High is purified multiple times, 7 times the Psalm says. And so we must understand that prophecy can be fulfilled on multiple layers, and we shouldn't turn our noses away at the things that happen there, even though we know that they are clearly not the people. Because sometimes prophecy is set up in a way that can make you have a different understanding when things start to come to pass. A classical example I always think of is when Mashiach in Matthew 24 tells us during the abomination of desolation, he says, to those that be in Judea, you should flee to the mountains. And so many times when we read that prophecy, we think of it literally, that those who are in Judea, in that actual location, wherever that is, should flee to the mountains. And it could mean that, and maybe it does mean that. But we also have to understand that Judea is also the people. The people make up the nation. And so when he says that particular thing, although we are looking at it in a literal and physical perspective, there's also a spiritual element to it, where he is talking about the people of that nation should flee to the mountains, not necessarily the location itself. So you could be anywhere in the world, but if you are of that people, it's the people that make the land, you must flee to the mountains, because you are, in essence, the land. We were taken by the clay from the ground. and made into a man, and the Most High breathed into us, and then we became a living soul. So in essence, we are the land, we are the people. And if we are the people, when he talks about a particular place or a particular location, though there may be a fulfillment literally, but there's also a symbolic or metaphoric fulfillment, and that fulfillment would be that the people themselves is who he's talking to, not necessarily the location. Both things can be true, but sometimes we have to see these things come to pass, and then we get a better understanding of what is meant. And as I say, when I look at Daniel chapter 5 and look at the physical or literal fulfillment, I also see a spiritual fulfillment that is taking place in these very days. And the ending of Daniel chapter 5 is also another thing that I look at very closely and see how these prophecies seem to be aligning at this very unique time. So as I said, read chapter 5 in your own time, but do consider where you see Medes and Persians talking about modern day Iran and their allies. Let's see how those things will pan out, because the Most High's word will surely come to pass. And repetition in scripture is prophecy. When you see something repeating, we know it's to do with the prophetic. So some interesting things to identify from that perspective. So I won't take up too much of your time. Just thought I would bring that to you by Yah's grace. I'll recover very soon from the ailments I'm going through, and then we'll be able to do something a bit more in depth in terms of a teaching, as we are currently only a couple of days away from the start of the first biblical month on the new restored Hebrew biblical calendar. And that means that we are entering into the Moedim season in the first month, where Passover takes place after 2 weeks or 14 days from the beginning of the month. So surely we will have many times to gather and congregate, and by Yah's grace, there will be a teaching out on some of the events surrounding Passover and understanding that we need to have so that we can follow the Most High's calendar. More confirmations in terms of his calendar being correct to the best of our ability that has been restored. And so we can approach the Moedim season with confidence and understand the things the Most High is telling us through his word and through his calendar, which he has graciously helped us to restore. So by his grace, before the actual time, as I say, within about 2 weeks or so, there will be a teaching to reflect that and to help you all in your journeys. And just again, if you don't have a copy of the Restored Hebrew Calendar, then if you send me an email with your YouTube handle, I will be able to send you a copy so that you can get things in place and prepare for all the feast seasons, which every year without fail will fall on the same day. They never change. They are set in stone. And it is all because of the brilliance of the Most High and the mathematics behind it, that there are 364 days with 52 full weeks of all his Moedims within that season. And every year they will always be on the same day. That will never change. So by Yah's grace, you can get a copy of the calendar and he will give you the understanding to go with it so that you can keep his Moedim season to the best of your ability. And as we do these things, family, let us pay very close attention to the events going on around the world, especially on the Moedims, the appointed days. Let's see what's happening, because many prophecies are being fulfilled real time. And if we have the calendar and we're paying attention to it and we're following the Most High in the best way we can, we're always going to get revelation and understanding, especially around those times, and can expect to see the fulfillment of prophecies that are in the scriptures. So I'll leave it here for now. But as I say, Yah willing, we'll come back with a more in-depth teaching about the calendar. Not necessarily anything new, because we've covered most of those things last year. And there is a playlist that you can access, which gives you all the links to the calendar and the teachings of the calendar, various feasts. So I'll leave that in the description. But just more something for us to have confidence in the calendar, and so that we can see how the season kicks off with the Passover and the things that entail. So for now, brothers and sisters, I will leave it here. To all of you that belong to the Most High, May he bless you and keep you.